high plains of the Midwest, I bid you good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever your time zone might be. My nod to the late and great Art Bell. I'm Keith Sharp.
And I'm G. Dressel.
And we welcome you to Life After Life, a paranormal webcast where we talk about the paranormal, UFOs, or the unexplained. And the biggest question of them all, what happens when we die? Stay tuned. And good evening. Hey, we finally made it. Sorry about that. We had some technical issues.
Well, there was a YouTube issue, right?
It was actually a YouTube issue this time. It wasn't me.
Yes.
Which was unbelievable. I'm the one who usually screws up.
Quite refreshing, honestly.
It is quite refreshing. You know, I was watching some of our old episodes, and it's hilarious. It's like every episode, the beginnings were all screwed up. And I kept thinking, we kind of still do that.
Yeah.
A little bit.
We do.
Right?
Yeah.
So
I think we will probably always do it, because nothing's on purpose.
No. And for you guys that are watching, make sure you watch all the way through, because we have a special announcement at the end of the show.
And this show is going to be friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
There's something going on with like the little connection.
Yeah.
Stuff, huh?
You know, we're supposed to have 70, 80 mile per hour winds tonight.
I know.
So
low chance of tornadoes.
Low chance of tornadoes, but you know, 80 mile per hour winds is like a small hurricane.
Uh-huh.
So that's no fun. So how was your week, man?
I'm gonna stand on top of my house and I'm gonna say, is that all you got?
Yeah.
Like Forrest Gump, like Lieutenant Dan from Forrest Gump.
Right. And then you blow off the roof.
The weekend. I don't remember.
How was your weekend?
I don't remember what I did this weekend. Too busy. It was in Tulsa.
Hey,
I wasn't. Have you
sober?
Have you spent much time in Tulsa?
Yeah. Maybe been last 6 months. Maybe been there about 3 times.
It's a nice little city.
It's nice. I wouldn't want. It's busier than Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't want to be there.
There's a lot to do.
Wouldn't want to live there.
A lot to do.
There is a lot to do, but yeah, I just I don't like crowds. I don't
either. That's where we'll be seeing Tool though. Me and Cass are going to see.
Oh,
Tool.
you guys going to Tool? Right on.
Yeah, so awesome. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was good. Getting a generator put in here pretty soon.
Watched OU barely squeak another one out on Kansas.
That was embarrassing. Yeah, that was, and I knew after that Alabama's moving up to 3. After that was so horrible.
Hey, did you see the play really quick? Sorry, guys. Did you see where Caleb Williams takes the ball out of?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Dude, awesome.
And I didn't think that was
save the game, bro.
Yeah, I didn't think that was going to.
We would have lost.
We would have lost. I thought it wouldn't stand.
Okay.
But it did. It did. That was a crazy play. So anyway, guys, we are talking about Ouija boards, right?
2 special guests.
Yes.
Austin and Christy.
And we're going to bring them on right now. Hello.
Hello, friends.
Can you hear us?
So do we need to be afraid of the Ouija board, you guys?
No.
They're going.
Yeah, here's, if you're, okay, if your audio's on, we're going to hear a big repeat, which we are hearing right now. So you both probably don't have earbuds, right? That's
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. But it's just there's this whole echo thing going on with your volume up.
Oh no.
If you maybe just take it down a little bit.
How's that?
Let me see.
Let me see.
Okay, that's better. I can still hear it, but that's all right. I don't care. God, that's driving me nuts. No. We should have told. Yeah, usually what you do is what happens is your volume goes back through the microphone, goes through my mixer board. It's like I'm getting a delay.
Keith sucks. He should have told you that.
I should have told you to have earbuds, but that's
my headphones.
We can.
Hey, this is Keith doing Keith things.
Okay.
Their charge.
What's that?
Their charge.
Well, then no grab them.
I think they're getting earbuds.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah. Sort it out. Whatever you guys need to do. We have time.
All right. I'll just grab some real quick.
He's gonna grab the earbuds.
Oh,
Okay.
perfect.
So how were you guys this
So,
weekend?
can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. It's just like I said, it's just when I talk, I hear me through your speaker. But it's not, not bad.
Well, we've got this
Yeah.
little gadget.
That is cool.
Those little Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah.
He's a speaker nerd.
Austin's gonna grab some earbuds.
Okay. And then one of you can hear.
Well, we'll probably share them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dude, that's so smart.
That is. That's a good idea. I wouldn't have thought of that. So how was you
Did
guys
you
this
ask-
weekend? I'm sorry?
It was okay. We're both sick. Negative COVID
Yeah,
test though. Sinus
Oh.
infection, but we're still good.
So just a sinus infection.
Let's see if this works, huh?
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right. So how are we going? Then we got to connect.
We're gonna have to connect.
You're good. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I can hear them better without.
Okay. Yeah, now we're doing.
Yeah, that's fine.
I can hear you good now.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't need those.
You know what's
Can you
weird?
hear us?
I don't hear the
I
echo.
don't hear the echo now.
Were you guys playing
Okay.
with the Ouija board before
Perfect. We figured it out.
this? What is happening?
All
It
right.
just vanished. The echo
So-
vanished.
I know. So first, let me say, is Troy with you?
He's not here.
He's
Okay.
not here.
Yeah, let me just tell the audience real quick. His name's Austin. It was my bad. I don't know why I said Troy. But when I changed it in YouTube, it changed in YouTube, but it wouldn't change on the Facebook. So not that it matters anyway, right?
Troy.
All right.
Troy is a valiant name. You know.
It is.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. All right, well, guys, tell us, how did you get involved with the Ouija board? I mean, what happened?
Well, to make a long story short, I've always been into that kind of stuff and didn't really know what I was getting into. So I ordered one off of Amazon probably
Now, how long ago was
in
this?
June. Probably June of last year.
Really?
Okay. It never came. It never came. And it was an Amazon order. It never came.
Try and tell you something.
And my husband ordered one for me for Christmas last year. It came early and opened it before Christmas, and it has been a journey ever since.
Wow, really?
Cool. Cool.
Let me tell you.
So-
we've evolved.
So the Ouija board, it was just something just last year, so it's not like 20 years ago I bought my first Ouija board or anything. So you got into it kind of older.
Yes. But how do I say it? Now is the time. Now is
So
the time. We use it very frequently.
Uh-huh.
It's not like it's a once in a 3-month kind of thing. Now is the time. So
And you guys do readings for people, is that correct?
that is true. That is true. We're able to do readings on the board for people, just him and I touching the planchette, even over FaceTime.
Well, and
Wow.
And I do tarot readings as well, but for the Ouija board, it works over FaceTime. They can hear you and everything.
Now, were you doing tarot cards before the Ouija board?
Yes.
Okay.
That it's, I don't know, it just evolved, and I've been doing readings for both for a period of time, but I'm easing into the Ouija board. There's a taboo to it, you know what I mean?
There's a stigma with it. So I mean, is that part of the reason you didn't get one right off, or?
That's part of the reason that we didn't open up to a lot of people right away about things that we were doing and communicating with, just because of the taboo and the stigma. Yeah,
there's this kind of conclusion that you can draw. You know, it's like a guy going out and buying a tool, essentially. You know that the tool is there and it might help you to further yourself, but you don't buy the tool until you buy the tool, and once you do, you realize that it changed your life.
Right.
You know, and you're like, this makes things a heck of a lot easier. You know, and some tools are better for other people, some tools aren't. And there's, you know, we have found that this has been a good tool for us in terms of our spiritual study, essentially.
Do you feel like it's better than the tarot cards?
Mm-hmm.
I do. Yes.
Because you can actually get answers with a spirit board, right? I mean, in tarot cards, you have to interpret everything, and the spirit board just telling you this is how it is, spells it out, right?
Very much so.
Well, I think sometimes, I think that there's been a couple times, you know, where we've been left with more questions than answers.
Sometimes
And
they won't answer you.
Yeah, and it leads for this place to practice study. You know, study this, study that. We're going to give you just enough to pique your interest, and then figure it out.
So the thing with tarot readings, which I love, tarot readings, they kind of, I don't want to say point blank tell you how it is, but that's often the case, and a lot of times you use your own discernment in a tarot card reading.
You tell yourself how it is.
Right. So I will lay down a card and I will tell you what that card means and how I feel like it might play into what's going on in your life. But you, as the receiver, will be like, oh yeah, you know what, that's going on, and okay, that makes sense. But with a Ouija board, well, we call it the spirit board because Ouija itself just has a name, right?
Connotation, right?
Yeah, everybody associates it with evil and demons.
Right.
Most of my viewers.
Exactly. But the board, they'll spell it out for you. You know.
Right. So when we were talking earlier this week,
that was really good.
That was awesome.
That was a good one.
A couple of, but you and I and your husband, we had talked, I guess earlier in the week, and you did say you did have some bad experiences with Ouija.
Oh yeah.
Was this in the very beginning when you were learning how to use it, or
more so?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Well, you got to share at least one or two of those with us.
Oh sure.
Okay.
So let's do Pete first.
Yeah.
So we'll do the less scary one first.
Okay.
So we had a spirit come on the board, and this was when we were learning, right? We were just like, hey, okay, let's just do the circle and open the board and see what happens.
Okay.
And this spirit came on the board and seemed to be very not happy with his current situation on the other side. Okay. And he spelled out socks. Probably a good
5 or 6 times at least.
Yeah, very, very fast. And
like socks like you wear. Is that what you're saying?
Right, socks.
Okay.
And
no socks on the other side, I guess.
Yeah.
Well,
he was stating that he was cold.
He told us he was cold where he was.
In a very non-aggressive way. He was like, socks.
Yeah.
I'm cold. You know what I mean? And it came off in a certain type of way at first, but then as it progressed, it was like, man, like this dude's cold.
We left the dude some socks. So there have been a couple of other experiences that we've had that are a little bit more on the scarier side. I had one say things that I cannot say on a live YouTube video because there's no bleeps. We'll just put it that way. Called me a name or two. And we closed the board. Obviously, he wasn't happy with what we were doing. Man, we've had another time there was something that was on the promiscuous side. We'll say that on live.
I've heard that a lot.
Well, promiscuous boards, actual way, but
yeah. So there are those experiences. Those are real, and they have happened to us as well.
Now, why do you think? Suppose those negative entities came through. Were you asking for any spirit, or were you? I mean, how were you inviting the spirits to come through, and how did you end up getting these negative spirits?
So we don't ever ask for any specific spirit to come on. We always go into it with an intention.
But we didn't always used to do that.
We didn't
that was
always.
A learning process.
We got, told, because we've had people on the good and the bad side, essentially, talk with us. We don't really like the bad side. So we've had people on the good side give us like some pointers, essentially. One of them was don't specifically ask for somebody. If you specifically, like, I want to talk to Grandma Ann, and Grandma Ann could come on the board, but it's not really Grandma Ann.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
because you put that out there is like,
And that's
I'm
where
giving
people,
you a name. It's like identity theft in the spirit world.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's where people get into trouble. So, to kind of answer your question, I guess when we first started using the board, we just opened the line, right?
Mhm.
And hello, can anybody hear me? Well, there's a lot of there's a lot of them that can hear you. And so what we've learned during the process is always open with intention. And we have been told by numerous spirits that the Ouija board is like a telephone. There's no direct line. You call to the spirit realm and anybody can pick up that phone.
Wow.
So,
So
but if you go
intention
into it
is-
with good intentions, therefore you'll attract good spirits. Is that what you're saying?
Hopefully.
That is
Hopefully.
true.
More likely.
That, yes, more than likely. So that also depends on your own. We're gonna call it your vibration. Okay, so
Mhm.
we all know that in the scientific world that everything has a vibration, correct?
Yep.
Rocks, trees, everything vibrates. So when you go in to open your Ouija board, if you've had a bad day, I'll tell you right now, don't do it.
Right.
Because you're vibrating at a very low energy. So they will match you.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you are, you've had a great day, everything's going good, and you're going to sit down and you're going to meditate and you're going to say, hey, I'm opening this board with this specific intention. You will get a matched vibration, essentially.
Gotcha.
This makes such good sense.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot different, is it then? Like if we talked earlier too about like if I use a K2 meter, to get yes or no questions. So if it's all intentions, then if I'm playing with a K2 meter, I need to be in a good mood, have, not be tired or grumpy or anything like that.
Drunk.
Yeah, what about
Yes.
if you're high?
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, what if you're high? Like you smoked a little weed or something? Is that a no-no or?
Honestly,
Because I'm a weed smoker. I'm just
Hit or
saying.
miss with that.
yeah. I honestly don't think it will. If I can be completely honest, it might
Yeah, of
help.
course.
To be honest, because
Yeah.
you're
Depending on, because like once you start altering your state of mind, then you start messing with your subconscious.
Yeah. If you're
When
starting to get
when in a controlled state of mind,
For sure.
being sober or having like a beer or a shot,
Right.
depending on the type of things that you like to do, that can influence the kind of things that you can that can happen. If you go into it clear-headed and you light some candles, you play your favorite music, you meditate, then you are going to 99% of the time get what you're asking for.
at the same time, and I'm not a big smoker personally, but if taking a shot or having a beer kind of just puts you in a place where you're not afraid, because that is one thing that I will tell you. When you go in and you open the board and you're afraid, you're opening up a can of worms there.
Yeah, I think that's probably why, a lot of kids, or well, I say kids, well, even adults, it's, ooh, this is spooky. So they're going into it with those,
Preconceived notions.
actually looking for probably ghosts or demonic things to happen, just something to scare
Well,
them.
it's like you were saying earlier about the negative connotation that comes with just the word Ouija board, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that you call it a spirit board and the way that you describe it, because it has so much more of a meaning than what my preconceived notions of what it was, And so I was going to ask you, how long, like, you were a believer, and the reason I'm saying this is because, just to preface a little bit, when I was in the Army, I've told you this before.
Yeah.
Me and Larry got drunk and started messing around with the Ouija board, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we were like throwing it around. We were like sloppy drunk. So like we didn't get anything out of it, right? And so, but then when I had all my experiences with you, Keith, and the K2 meter and the spirit box, then I was like, oh, shit, like that could have been terrible, right?
Yeah.
And now we always talk about intent. So you were kind of going into this at a later phase in your life where you understood the spirit world probably more than others, right? So when you opened it, did it just work immediately, or did it take time?
For us, it
Yes.
worked immediately. But this is what I would say.
It's changed though.
It has changed.
It's evolved our terms of
Very much
communication.
so. So when we first opened the board, probably for the first month and a half or so, we were getting people, right? So human spirits that have left this plane, this dimension, this physical plane,
Okay.
and we're on the other side. But most of the time they were kind and they were very encouraging. And the further that we got into it, see, for us to talk to, for my husband and I personally, when we do our own communications, for us to talk to a person that has passed is very far and few between, even our own loved ones.
No.
Right.
But we also started going on the spirit board with a little bit of knowledge. We had some tools in our toolbox, essentially.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like some high schooler that's like doesn't know about their lives or anything like that. Not to say anything, but we have
It's
Palo
dangerous.
Santo, we have Sage, we have specifically crafted candles for different events that are going on. If we're looking for knowledge, or if we're looking for clarity or peace, all of these different sorts of things. It was kind of long down in the list of things was getting one of these boards. But we have had the tools to be able to, look at something that comes, because you can easily invite something. I'm not saying that you can't. You can. If
Very
you don't
much
have
so.
the right intention, if you don't have the right tools or knowledge to be able to either prevent them from even entering your home or getting rid of them. If you have a pest, you need to know the solution to get rid of a rat if you have a rat in your house.
Yes. And when we can touch on that and go further on that if you would like to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because it sounds like that you guys, and we hear this a lot about putting like perimeters if you have the knowledge or the skill to talk or to communicate with the other side.
Yep.
Every single person says putting parameters on it. So I guess it would be no different with the Ouija board, right? Is that what you're saying? Is that you guys have the tools in the toolkit in case things get crazy?
Yes.
Yeah, like the Sage and thing.
What was that?
I'm sorry. I was just telling him, yeah, like having Sage and kind of setting your parameters up beforehand.
Yes. And so it's interesting how things evolve and things change as we go. For example, when we first started doing the board, we place our hands and we open, right? That's what you open the circle. Sometimes we don't even open the circle. We put our hands on the board and it just starts going.
It's usually
Wow.
something
But
though.
yes, and that is usually something that we know when that happens, we are talking to a higher entity. But things like, crystals and things like Sage and Palo Santo and the like, they are useful tools, but remember they are tools. Okay. You don't need them. If they make you feel safe, if they make you feel protected,
That helps your intention.
it does. It
Right.
helps your intentions. But when it comes to something trying to communicate with you that is not welcome, that's a whole nother ball game. That takes, and I'm gonna use the term faith. That takes faith in who you are, what your intentions are in the first place, and where you stand in your spirituality to get it to leave. So my warning per se is, if you are not firm in your spirituality or your faith and you don't have that full intention, don't open that board. There are other tools.
Right.
But if you know what you're doing, you have the right intention, and you know who you are in your faith, great things can happen.
Right. We've got a question from Gigi. I put it on the screen there. I don't know if you can see it. It says, have they had a response to an entity that has not been born to this world?
Yes.
Yes, multiples.
Yes.
And what kind of entity are you speaking of, though? I mean, is this an unborn baby, or is this a non-human spirit?
I'll let Austin go first.
Okay.
So we've had things come on the board. Normally we ask just to get kind of a clarification of what we're talking to. We will ask, what is your name? Some of the names that we get are kind of out of the box. Some of them are very concrete names like Phil or John, to just make an example.
And that right there will give you an idea of who you're talking to or what.
We've had things that have come onto the board where we ask their name. What is your name? It doesn't matter, or I can't tell you, or I don't have one. That's not important. Or that's not important. And it's like, okay, like, have you lived on Earth before? And it's like, no, I am unborn energy. There's this collective amount of energy that is stored. All of the energy. We haven't had this answer, but all of the energy that could be or will be in one specific place. And we have been able to talk to those singularity of like a singularity of energy, I guess.
Basically,
or spirits.
Yes. And so it's interesting. So some people might call them angels. Some people just spirit guides. And there is a distinction. There is a distinction between humans who have passed and have not gone to the light into the collective energy. There are spirits who are still here. Mm-hmm. And that's what I was saying earlier, my husband and I don't really get those too much anymore. We do get the higher beings. When we open that board, we always ask if anybody would like to speak love, wisdom, and enlightenment. We invite you into this conversation. And most of the time, just like Austin said, to test the waters, what's your name? And if you get a name that you've kind of never heard before, that's a signal that you're talking to something that is a higher vibrating energy.
We've also talked to, I know this,
and they'll tell you some crazy things.
You got to share that with us then. So what's the craziest thing you've ever heard?
Well,
what about our little ET experience?
Yeah, so that was interesting.
So we live out in the desert of Southern California. Mm-hmm. Our night is usually very beautiful in terms of the amount of stars that we can see. And we have, every so often we go outside and we kind of look up at the stars and we see things that are kind of questionable. Like, why is that thing kind of like swinging back and forth and it's just a star? You know what I mean? Yeah. So we tried very hard to go out into the darkest part of the desert and with an intention to talk to something that is not human. It's different, and maybe more on like the extraterrestrial side to kind of test those waters.
Now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
this is interesting.
And so we were out. We were kind of having a good time. We were stargazing. We had a little fire going. The fire had started going out, and we were just kind of like looking up at the stars.
And we were watching this star, and the star was going in a triangle.
And it was
the weirdest thing.
And swaying. And so we kind of like looked at each other and we're like, I think we were kind of on the same level of like, let's try to talk to it.
Let's get on the board.
And so we meditated. We had, Tibetan singing bowls with us to kind of align our chakras to make sure that our energy was shooting in the right spot. Mm-hmm. And we got on the board and we talked to this thing. this extraterrestrial being almost.
So no,
not almost. It was.
So this is what happened,
Oh,
and
I'm
I have it
getting
written
chills
down.
just I'm getting chills.
But
Ugh.
we said, so we opened the board, and this was still in the early stages of our board use. And I said, can you tell us your name? And it said nameless.
Sure.
And I said,
wow.
well,
Binary code.
for the session, what can we call you? And it literally said ET.
Oh, how cool.
Wow.
And it told us, it said, we see you. We know what you're doing.
Wow.
Oh,
And
God.
then it gave us binary code,
Yeah, it
which
started
we
talking
don't
in-
know.
It
So
started talking in binary code.
it said, ask us about the fifth dimension. And I said, well, what about the fifth dimension? And it gave us a bunch of numbers, like ones and twos and ones and
And
twos.
zeros and all.
Did you write them down and save them?
So I did. And I've tried to Google it. I've tried
Yeah, if
everything
anybody,
to
if
mine.
anybody
Yeah.
is willing to kind of sort that out for us, it's been one of those like unexplained. We got no answers from that. You know, it was just nothing but questions. There were answers in the form of questions.
Yeah.
And you know, it was just like this. It was this higher knowing of knowledge.
But the one thing that we do know, because there were some other questions that we asked ET, and I asked him kind of religious questions, and he or she kept answering different dimension.
That was my next question. Yeah. I think they're interdimensional beings.
It's heavy, man.
Yeah.
I love this.
It is
Multidimensional.
It is, and
yeah.
They're easily able to kind of hop between our perceivable dimensions, but you know, their dimensions could be totally different. They could have 12 for all that we know.
right.
And hopping into our perceived third dimension is probably child's play for them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but we went in with the right intention, and you know, I don't know, it sounds crazy, but we had envisioned ourselves being able to talk with these creatures,
And
it happened.
here's the thing, is that a lot of the stuff that we have experienced, and even some of the things that we might be saying, may sound completely crazy to some people, and that's okay, right? So there is a level of understanding and acceptance that needs to happen. If you are looking at the Ouija board as a Hasbro game, a family game to sit in the dark and light some candles and call for grandpa to see if he's watching over you, okay? Or, you know, the Ouija board came out in the 1840s, I think, by a psychic medium as a tool, just like tarot cards, just like all of these other pendulums, okay? 100 and something years later, The Exorcist came out and made it this big scary thing, and that's what Hollywood has done to this tool.
Yeah.
So if you, and I'm going to clarify right now, every single person on this planet has the capability to be a medium.
Boom.
Yes.
Boom.
See, that was the next. Yeah. that
Thank
was actually
you.
the next. You're reading
Thank
our
you.
minds. I think.
Thank
That
you.
was-
I believe that
Yes.
as well.
yeah, we've talked about that a
Everybody.
lot.
We have.
So do you believe? I mean, there's some really good psychics, but do you think everybody's equal? As far, I mean, they can learn that.
Yes, I do. I fully believe that. It's so when I'm going to share a little bit something about myself. So when I was a kid, have you ever heard of the superhero complex in psychology? Right? So I was a little kid, and I always knew there was something different about me. There was something special about me, and God and I used to read the Bible by myself to myself at the age of 7. And I was really tight with God, and I had a superhero complex. I'm different. And the older I grew and the more psychology, I have 3 years of college psychology in my background. the more I realize is that everybody has this superhero complex. Everybody feels different.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to fit in, but it is the individual difference in you that separates you from society to know that you are called to something different. You are called to something greater. And when we first started this board, and I was talking to my guide very, very often, and she would always tell my husband and I, study, and study. Everybody has the capability. I'm not saying everybody should use the Ouija board, because there are so many other tools out there.
Well, if I can say something, it's kind of like this, you know, not everybody can be firefighters, because then there'd be no police officers.
Yeah,
For sure.
You know what I mean? There has to be this balance between what makes the world go round.
Right.
And, you know, the Ouija board might be good for some people. It might not. Tarot cards might be good for other people. You know, just being able to sit and meditate and practice the power of persuasion to where you can almost make something happen just by thinking about it hard enough. That is another tool, you know? And there comes a point where you just kind of have to figure out your niche. You know, it's just like, what did you want to be when you grow up? You can totally think that you want to be one thing, but down the line, as you study and you have experiences, you realize that you might be better fit for something else.
See, you guys are like, it's like different level, because there are levels to everything, right? And,
True.
and so, yeah, and it seems like you guys are, and we see this a lot with our guests that come on, like, you know, your Brandon Burtons and Dean McMurray, where you guys are like focused and you have these bumpers on that allows you to maximize what you're doing with that, right? Like a lot of us are clouded. Me and Keith talk about this a lot. You know, I've got 3 kids. Actually, I've got 3 daughters, which is awesome. And so, you know, I got a business. We have the show. We do a lot of things. And what I've learned on this show is that it just takes being able to shut everything out, right? And focus with intention on something so much that you can develop into it, right? And it sounds like that's what you guys have done.
Well, and so there's a thing too, and this is what I am learning. I am learning to pace myself. And that is the one thing that I love about my husband, is that he'll kind of tell me, he'll be like, okay, babe, like pump the brakes a little bit. So when you're on a path and when you're on a journey, and believe me, the spirit world, they know where you are. They know you've got a life to live. You've got a mortgage to pay. You've got a car payment. They know. Okay, but time, that we've been told over and over again, time is different there. But when you're on a journey, you ain't got to run all the time, because then you get tired and then you get burnt out.
Stop and smell the flowers, because you'll notice something in the flowers that could change your path.
And it's okay to take, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to sit down because your feet hurt. And then once you're rested, hey, you're up and jogging again. And right now, I kind of feel like we're sprinting because we're ready for that.
Right.
So go at your own pace, and don't neglect your daily life.
Yeah, that's something I have to learn, because I'm impatient.
Yeah, but also this
it's like life. I know life's short, so it's like I try to do everything I can fast, and try to live all these dreams out. And
was this not how we kind of stumbled into life after life?
Yeah, it is.
When all of a sudden you started messing around with the old spirit box.
Well, I did, and I was like, I shared with them. I was just careless with it. And
but that's your personality.
We have to get one of those.
You don't want one.
That sounded horrible, what I just said.
No, but you know,
it's true.
I know, but he like when Keith doing Keith things, though, right? Like you got the spirit box. It was good, and you had great intentions. We all had, and it was like all of a sudden you opened it up that one day. What did you say? You said, whoever.
Oh, and just you mean the experiment I did?
Yeah.
No, I just tried to see, okay, if I had no one didn't say anything and turned the spirit box on, would voices come through? Which I shared this with you guys, so it's fine. And nothing happened. But as soon as I asked, is there any spirits here? Boom! I started getting all these answers coming through. So it's almost like you have to invite it. You have to want that for it to happen. So I think a lot of times if you got non-believers, they may go, "What? Nothing worked," but that's because they don't. I think they're closed off to it.
You have to buy in.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
to a point
absolutely,
you've got to
yeah.
have some faith.
The
And like they
faith,
said,
absolutely.
the most important thing is your intention
right,
of
faith and intention.
what you end up getting, because I was very careless with it. I didn't really do anything.
But not on purpose. It's just
No,
it goes back to their studying point though.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
studying it and being able to put those bumpers on it. Like, because even me with the K2, remember the experiences I had?
Yeah.
The first night was all warm and like, dude, we were nailing this thing. And I was a skeptic, guys, like for real, until I met my awesome father-in-law and had some real experiences. So, but with the K2, that first night it was nice and warm. Larry was with us and my wife, and it seemed like a grandmother, right? Then the next night, I think it was a Saturday night, so we were having some whiskey. And then all of a sudden, Larry's kind of talking smack to a spirit. And this, what started happening was completely different. So it went back to like, A, we were young and stupid. But B, we opened the doors to that, and our intentions were completely different on those 2 nights.
Right. Well, it's just like what they're saying.
Right.
Your intentions. And
yeah.
Therefore,
absolutely.
The first time you got the warm, friendly, grandmotherly type, and then the next time you're drunk and not you're being careless. And,
well, Larry was talking shit. Like,
and that happens to us too, because what will happen is, we're like recently, we made a new planchette. And so we put the planchette on the board and we just put our hands on there and we looked at each other and I said, okay, let's see if this works. And sure, it started working, but it wasn't.
The intention is in it now.
There was no set intention before we put our hands on that planchette. So we got what we got,
right?
Which isn't necessarily, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good either.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there comes a point too. So like our brain is the most scientific, complex piece of technology that there is or ever will be within our
realm.
Within our physical realm. It is a microchip, and whatever you believe, it will happen. It's the power of persuasion. Whatever you believe, it will happen if you believe hard enough.
Right.
Law of attraction is a thing, believe it or not, we've been told.
Well, I mean, I think that your whole life's like that. If you're a miserable, hateful person, you're going to attract a miserable life.
Yes.
Yeah. And you find that most of your grumpy coworkers that you work with are people who are just not happy.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally, I'm totally in tune with you guys. I totally think that. I think we're creators, really. You can
Very
do whatever
much
you
so.
Yeah, you can create what you want and make things happen by just concentrating, visualizing, thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with that being said, that is true. We are creators and creation doesn't stop, right? And so what happens with the majority of humanity, which is actually, I have to say, is now changing. We're in a whole new age right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look what we're doing. Look what we're talking about right now.
It's because there's an awakening. People are waking up. People are talking about ascension. People are talking about, I really don't think I'm religious. I thought I was religious. I thought I believed that, but I kind of believe in everything. And that's what's happening to the majority of the population. And people are waking up. And that was actually a message that we received the other day. Austin and I decided that we wanted to know if there was anything that the other side had to tell anybody watching this video. And there were 2 things that they wanted to say. And the first thing was, there are many tools. Okay, there's more than the spirit board, the Ouija board. It's not for everyone. And the second thing, the last thing that they said was, wake up. Which I love that, because we say that all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think it circles back around to, even what you were saying earlier about studying, committing to something, right? Because as you do that, then within that perimeter, you start to, maximize it and understand things, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing like in humanity right now is, you know, we have access to information that we didn't have, right? And so people are able to think differently, and we're able to have conversations like this. Like, who would ever thought we were going to have a conversation like that?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's unbelievable.
Well, I mean, but there have been a time when, especially, we live in Oklahoma, so we live in the Bible Belt. You know, and if I talked about something like this, you know, my God, they were going to burn me at the stake. You know, I'm a satanic worshiper. You know, I'm a Satan worshiper because it goes against the laws of God, according to them. But people are waking up. I've seen a big change, and especially in the last 20 years. Is, you know, you just look at TV. I mean, look how many ghost shows are on, paranormal shows. Psychics, more psychic seems to be coming out. So it's getting accepted a lot more, but it still has a way to go.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Well, and within the last 20 years, you know, we've all become, you know, in tune with technology.
Right.
You know, we've all become connected in one way, shape, or form. If we have a question, all you have to do is either ask Siri or type it into Google, you know, or YouTube, and you can figure out your own answer, whether or not it's, you know, there's, you know, false things that are in it or true things. You know, you still have that power of discernment to where you can decide what is true or what is not.
That is key.
Yeah, totally. And so there becomes this, you know, these very different people and these very different ways of thinking based off of these like umbrella terms or umbrella ways of thinking. And based upon that, that becomes the foundation, you know. And
well, and here's the thing too, that I would like to share. So I had mentioned before, I have 3 years of psychology in my background, right? Psychology and religion, or psychology is science, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, they clash for the majority of people. But science likes to group things together, correct?
Yes.
Right. Like you have different categories. You have different categories of mental illness. You have different categories of anything.
Right.
Rocks and trees and clouds and all this stuff. And that's where we as individuals lose, like what I was talking about earlier, the superhero complex, right? We conform because we have to fit in. And this is the problem that I have found. What's that?
Into a category.
Yeah.
Society
feel like we
wants you to,
Right.
If you're not in a category, then you're not a part of society.
Yeah, or you're just a whack job, right? If you don't fit in in this normalization.
For sure.
And so people put away their crazy aspirations to talk to so-and-so or to be able to do these things. We think that we can't because it's abnormal. And the same thing, and the same thing goes with religion, right? And I don't mean to offend anybody. I hate to say it, but in religious culture, there's a pack leader, and there are the sheep that follow. And there has to come a point where you decide, I want to lead a pack too. I don't just want to be a sheep because my gut and my soul tell me, I can agree with some things, but I don't agree with that. So what do? Do I stay with the flock because I don't want to be different? Or do I say, well, the heck with that, I'm going to lead my own flock?
For sure.
Yep. Speaking of superheroes, Susie Heath, thank you for the $20 super chat. You're a superhero. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I had to throw that in. Yay, Susie. Susie finances our whole show.
Awesome.
Susie's the reason we bought Garrett.
I got a new chair.
I appreciate you for watching.
Thank you, Susie. But man, so what if we had good intent to talk to Uncle Bob or something? And I know you said that spirits will lie, but what if we came with good intents and we did want to speak with a loved one?
Meditated.
Is that possible, or is that just not going to happen?
Definitely. It definitely is possible. So,
those are like the tricksters, though.
No, so but we have been told just never ever, and this is what we've been told. I know other people have been told different. They do their own thing, which is perfectly fine. But for us, we have been told never ask out loud. When your hands are on the board and you've got that board open and you're meditating and you're doing your thing, don't sit there and say, okay, I'm ready to talk to Uncle Bob. Okay, Uncle Bob, are you here? So what you do is, we have been told hope and pray. You can hold it in yourself in front of that board while you're meditating. All right, Uncle Bob, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of all those good times that we had. Man, I really need your guidance right now because I'm going through some stuff in my life. Okay. All right, let's go. And then you open that board for love and enlightenment and wisdom. And if everything goes well, he'll answer you. It's not guaranteed, but
Right.
you hold that in your subconscious and bring it to your consciousness, and you wait and you see what happens, because we've seen it done. And
It's
it's
sort of
happened for us.
telepathic, isn't it, in a way?
It almost is, in a way. It almost is, because
I've done
it's
it.
all about intention.
Yeah, my dad passed away last year, and
Okay.
I've asked for his guy. I mean, and not verbally saying it, but just thinking about my dad. And
Mhm.
a lot of times I get an answer.
Yep.
That's the power of persuasion right there.
Yeah.
Think
Well,
it and so it shall be.
And that's the thing too. So that right there will tell me, because I'm starting to notice that happening to myself. I will be walking around the house, and psychology will call it an intrusive thought, right? So
Mhm.
you're focused on something, you're doing something, and all of a sudden in your subconscious, you hear, it might be in your own voice, but you hear something. And that is actually the spirit realm. Those are your guides, and they do talk to you. You're not crazy.
Right. Have you ever had a song just pop up in your head, and
Oh yeah.
it goes with what you were thinking about, and it almost answers a question for you? Because I'm
Yeah, it happened to me
I'm a
today.
musician.
Well, I was gonna say you're
I'm
like
a
super
musician, so
musically
I think the
inclined.
spirit guys go, okay, let me we're gonna get through this knucklehead.
yeah,
We're gonna have to play a song.
Right, for sure.
There are even things they say that, when you find coins,
Yeah.
or you find the other day, I kid you not, I was walking through my yard because my dogs were at the corner of my property and they were barking. And I went to see why they were barking, and I was walking back towards the house. And I kid you not, I found a raw piece of black obsidian
Wow.
in my path. Why would that be there? It wasn't shined up. It wasn't
Right.
it was. So they do talk to you, and they will try to get your attention, and they will comfort you through music, or they'll help you push through a hard time by, throwing on some Metallica in your head, or all of a sudden you hear some AC/DC and you're like, all right, I got this.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, maybe there's a you hear that saying about, man, I can't get that song out of my head.
Yeah.
And I tell people, well, if you can't, listen to that song and think about that. Maybe that's
Honestly,
an answer.
that's-
maybe that's an answer.
That's
right.
what it is. Like, why is this such a back of the brain thing that's very forefront? Something that keeps repeating in the front part of your brain, to where you're hearing it and you're thinking it, but really it's a subconscious thing. So it's like, it's just like, going through and diagnosing your dreams. Why is this happening? What is the, is it just a happy song? Do I just need to be a little bit happier right now?
Right.
Is
That's a great way to put it.
That's good too.
That's
Yeah.
a great way to put it.
That's very good.
Or is it a very specific song that maybe is a little bit nostalgic, that brings back up some memories, what I mean? And there's
That let you know that maybe somebody who passed, oh man,
I'm thinking about you.
I'm walking through my living room, and all of a sudden I smell grandma's cookies. What do you think that is?
Yeah.
And it is. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, it's just, there's no full spiritual thought behind that. And the more that you pay attention to those things, and the more that you acknowledge them for what they really are, and we're big on thanking them.
Yeah.
Every time we make a communication, thank you for your time.
Well, and I could almost assume, I'm not trying to speak for everything that we've ever talked to, but I would assume that us talking to something that benefits us also benefits them. And if you look at it in like a mirrored perspective, you know, then you are talking to some. We've left gifts for things that have asked for it. You know, like Pete, like she was saying at the very beginning of the episode, you know, needed some you know, he needed some.
Dude,
He was cold. He
cold
needed, so
feet.
I dug through my drawer. She dug through her drawer. We compared like the fluffiest socks that we could find, and we got
Finding
a good pair.
socks sucks too.
Yeah, and
Like-
after that,
Maybe to Garrett's house.
yeah, and you know, he apologized, you know, and he was like, "I'm sorry for coming off like I was just cold, man." You
Yeah,
know,
dude.
thank
Actually,
you.
it was probably a month or so later, he came back on the board and he thanked us.
And then he asked,
And
for
he
some expensive
apologized.
whiskey,
Yeah, and then he asked
got-
for whiskey.
Did you leave him some
Like,
whiskey?
man, he's really cold. He needs something to warm him up, you know. But
And we were told that's okay, because I came from a religious background. I came from a Christian background, and I was like, oh man, okay. So we left this guy some socks, and now he's asking for whiskey, and somebody asked us
He's
for
Catholic.
Mexican. Yeah, we got asked
I'm
for
Catholic, so I can make that.
And so we got on the board, and my spirit guide had come on the board, and we were talking with her, and I said, hey, is this okay? Like, am I making some kind of like offering if I'm leaving stuff? And she said, no, yeah, because you're like, okay, if I leave this, does that mean like we're a covenant? Like, what am I doing?
Are they like attached to us now?
Yeah, but
So, hey,
that's
I'm glad that
actually
you-
encouraged.
Okay, well,
It is-
I'm glad you used the word attached, because actually one of the questions from the chat, like way earlier on, was, have you guys, I guess the question would be, have you guys ever had anything kind of attach itself?
Hang around the house.
Hang
didn't
around
go,
the house,
didn't
didn't go.
leave.
Which I'm glad
Yes.
that question was asked, because I was going to ask if you've had any, like when you open the board, do you guys have things that happen like in the environment?
Yes. So one time
Yeah.
it was
Go ahead.
so I will tell you one thing. We know who we are. We know where we stand in our faith.
But we're also human, and we get scared sometimes.
Yes.
For sure.
Glad to hear that.
So-
That was good one.
there was one time where I think him and I don't remember who we had talked to that day or what happened, but it was and we had a friend living with us. And first she went through it for a couple days, and then Austin went through it for a couple days, and I went through it for a couple days, where we were just really bitchy, right? We were like snappy, and we weren't really like ourselves.
Mhm.
And it took us a minute, and finally we realized, hey, we're under a spiritual attack.
Not
and
a possession.
Not a possession.
Right.
Yeah.
And these things do happen. But we have also been told, unless they are invited, they cannot stay. And I had this conversation with somebody very close to me the other day. So if they're not invited, they can't stay, right? But if you are not strong in your own personal faith, where you stand, do not confront it. And if you're not ready to confront something, do not open that board. And I will
ignore it.
or
if there's
ignore it
something,
if you can.
Yep. Well, like, because sometimes, you know, I can almost guarantee it, people that have had paranormal encounters of, you know, in a sense, to where things are flying off shelves. You know, all of a sudden things,
Oh yeah.
you know, if you're just like scared of it, you know, if
You're feeding the
it
energy.
was just
though.
like the person that told us, you know,
So you're
if
attracting
the
that.
more that you acknowledge it, the more that you become accountable for it.
Yeah.
We were told that.
You know, if you are acknowledging something and you are afraid and you are not sleeping at night, you know, and I know this is easier said than done, you're feeding it.
Right.
You know, so it's best to just ignore it until you can come up with a game plan.
Or
You
find
know.
somebody else. And this is the thing where, like, exorcisms and stuff like that, you know, I'm not a religious person, but I do believe that there are
Power.
priests and there are people who are very strong in their faith. And it doesn't matter if they believe in the true religion or if they're tight with God. If they know that they have the authority.
Intentions.
Yeah.
Yep. Because what is authority? It is the intention. I tell you to go and you will go because I said.
Which is energy.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But if you are,
which we all create.
Right.
if you do that, if you're like, okay, I just opened the board and something bad was here and oh my gosh, I don't know if it's still in the house and I'm just going to tell it to go. And you're like, just please go away. Don't do that because you're afraid. And when you're afraid in your intentions, it knows your fear. So, and that is the thing is we want everybody to know the board is not for everyone.
For sure.
Yeah.
To make the fearful afraid.
Yes, it takes practice and it takes faith in whatever it is that you believe.
Mm-hmm.
And tools to protect
it does.
yourself.
It takes tools and for me, I can't do the board without him. And it goes both ways. Sometimes it takes more than one person and that's okay because
two people have stronger energy than one.
Yes, exactly.
Especially if they're on the same wavelength.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have to address this, you guys. This is a question from one of my viewers because this is the thing that scares most people. And Gigi says, what was the case about a young boy who did the Ouija board with his grandmother? He then became possessed.
Possessed, yeah.
So in those cases, how does this happen, or is this mental illness? What do you think's going on here? Because if you do have a couple of kids playing around and they become possessed, what's going on there?
He then became possessed. So
Possessed, yeah.
These occurrences are real. So what you're doing is and I don't want to say you're opening a portal. You are opening a phone line. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
your phone can get bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phone can get tapped just like it happens.
Well, and it's the way that I look at it is the reason that the grandmother didn't get possessed versus the child. The child isn't going to know about intention. Isn't going to know about meditating before going into something like this, or how to protect yourself with a jasper, crystal quartz, with Palo Santo, sage. All of these different things that go into. You need to have a knowledge. You're not going to send a 6-year-old to college. There needs to be an experience going into it.
It's not a game.
It's not a game.
Right, and I think that's the thing we need to let people know is it's not a game. It's not Milton Bradley. It's this is a real tool, and if you're careless with it, then you're going to get bit.
Yes, there are consequences to actions.
Yep, and sometimes nothing will happen for somebody that goes on to it.
This is true, but and the thing is that, and that's why it really upsets me that Hasbro has it's a family game. It's not a game. It's not a game. It is very real, and for the majority of people, it does work. It works, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, it works. I don't know what to do. Take your hands off. Run away. Well, then what?
Then you left it open.
Then you left it open, and there was no intention to close it and say goodbye. And half the time, for us, I mean, when we do the board, we know what we're doing. Granted, it's been since December, but we use it often. We have good intentions, and the reason why we use the spirit board is because we are ready to know.
Yep. But
we want to know about the other side. We want to know, what happens afterwards. Is it easy? Is it hard? What's the universe all about? What's time like over there?
Well, and you got to be careful with what you mess with.
Yeah, you totally
on the screen. You have to be careful.
Very much so.
There needs to be a respect.
It's not a game.
And there is, I don't mean to say this, happy Halloween, trying to be witchy, but there is a ritual to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not in the negative connotation of like
you're putting bumpers.
Like
we talked about earlier, perimeters and bumper,
Yes.
That's what I loved about this conversation is how educational it's been.
Well, we appreciate you guys for
very much.
and hopefully it is educational. This is just our experience.
It can
Other
be
people-
a tool.
Yeah.
It is never meant to be intended as a game. And if you do not know how to protect yourself, if you are not strong enough in your faith to where you know you are stronger than anything that is going to come after you, do not even attempt to open that board. Don't do it.
Well, and in kind of a juxtaposition kind of way, you know, if you go into it as it is a game, games are going to be played with you.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You know, and you're going to kind of like, you're going to lose on that battle.
Yeah.
You know, you're
And
gonna,
then you got to call in somebody to help you get rid of it.
Right. Which Keith has had to do before.
What's that?
You'll have to call in somebody to deal with it.
Yeah, I did. I think I share that story with you guys when I did my spirit box session and I had I Am Evil, and it started scratching my kids. I had a human bite mark on my foot.
Yep.
And I had to give. We had a paranormal group that came a few months before, and I called one of the members, and she came out and she blessed the house, saged it, and of course she has the intention. I was scared. So I had no business. You know, I was like, I'll let you take care of this because I wasn't in the right mind to it.
Well, and even with that, Keith, like what they were saying about how, you know, this is all energy, really, you know, at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is. You get what you're looking for. So it's like even ghost hunters.
Yeah.
Of course, they're going to find something because they're almost creating that energy to find something because they're thinking, I'm going to find this energy. I will
back up the fact that back when that was happening, that was like 2010.
Mm-hmm.
They look like young pups, so
Yeah.
they were probably like 14 when this happened. Is that I was, like I said earlier, like a skeptic until I had these experiences with Keith, and we've talked about it years later when he came to me to say, hey, let's do this show. This is one specific thing we talked about is at the time I didn't have the knowledge or like the desire to seek out my spirituality, right? Like I was like just getting out of the army. I was a meathead. I was like, oh, you know, who cares? Over the last decade, having 3 kids now, having gone on this journey, right? Now looking back, what had happened was during that time of chaos, it was so heavy inside of that house in that certain area where all this activity was happening. And I could never like really pinpoint, like put it in, verbalize it at the time.
Yeah.
But now all the years later, I remember after never even told me that Kathy Nance came and cleansed the house. That like once it was over, he never really talked about it again for like 10 years. So now
I didn't, you know.
I was like,
because I'm
your son-in-law.
I know.
It's like in that house, bro.
Well, here's the deal, though. Like they said, I think the more you give attention to something that's negative, the more problem you're going to have with it. So therefore, I thought if I ignore this thing, don't talk about it. I mean, I did tell some of my friends, and
well, to the point though, is that once Kathy Nance left, there was a physical relief within the house.
It didn't feel heavy anymore.
That took me years to explain.
Yeah.
It wasn't because he didn't talk to me about it for like 10 years. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to talk to him about it.
There was times when you could walk in my house when this evil negative energy was in the house. It felt like you were walking through tar.
Water.
Like almost like you're walking through water. It was thick, it was heavy, it was depressing. And you could just feel in certain areas, like the master bedroom was another one where you feel this thick energy.
Where did you keep your spirit box at the time?
Well, it was in my bedroom.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, but I brought that upon myself because unlike them, where their intentions are only good and they protect themselves, and I didn't. I got excited because I thought I was helping ghosts because these people, most of the voices was sad. It was like, help me, help us. Like they were just lost. What do you think about that? Do you ever come through a spirit who's lost and they want to go to the light and they want to go somewhere and they don't know what to do? Yeah. And
so
go ahead.
I have something to share about that, but you go first.
Go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you do when you have a good friend, okay, and your friend is asking you over and over and over and over for your help, the same situation? Does there ever come a point where you're like, you know what? You had a choice. You knew what to do. I've tried to help you. You're on your own.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what make you comfortable, but I'm not gonna
what happens, and this is what we've been told, and this is what we are actually starting to learn. So we've been told by our guides over and over, many different situations, you have free will. I don't care what question we will ask, and they'll say you have free will. Okay, so we have free will in this life. When we pass, we have free will when we pass from this life to the next. And so there's always a choice. You can go, and from what I have heard from other people, is that there's always a light, and there are always either past loved ones, or there are your spirit guides, and or both, that are there to help encourage you to move on into the next life. But you have free will, right? So what happens when you're like, my problem used to be, you're so attached to your kids, man, I'm not ready to leave my kids. Oh, I'm not ready to leave my spouse. Oh, but you know, I've got this thing that I've got to finish. I got to make sure it happens. And you choose to stay. Okay. So we will get these spirits that will, you know, come on the board, and they haven't gone to the light. They're not ready. They don't want to go. And so what we have done is, you know what, if you see the light, please go to the light. There's nothing there that's going to harm you. It's time for you to move on. If you're ready to go, you need to go. We will close that board, and we will pray. Once the board is closed, we're no longer in contact with that spirit. We have said goodbye, and we will pray for that spirit to be shown the light, that his or her loved ones come back, the guardians come back, and they're able to pass them on. Other than that, there's really not too much you can do. You can't make them go when they have free will.
Right, and they may not want to go. We had a demonologist on, Carl Johnson. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's been on like every paranormal show in the world. But he was saying, you know, a lot of ghost hunters go in, and right off the bat they're going, "Oh, you need to go to the light. You need to go to the light." And he said, but they may not want to go. You know, they may not be ready in their journey just yet. So, yeah, that's a great point. Very good point.
Yeah, they might still be on the fence, and you know, I'm real big on analogies. So, in my opinion, you know, defense in terms of like sports and war, even defense wins the battle. If you go in with a weak defense, it doesn't matter the strongest attack plan that you have, you still won't win. Because you need to be ready for whatever is coming at you. You can have everything planned in the world for how to get at something, but that something also has a very strong attack plan to get at you. And if you don't have a defense, you will lose. And especially
when it's coming from something you can't see.
Exactly. You know, it's just like fighting in the dark. You know, if you have a plan to where you are protected 364 dimensions around you, you will be okay. Even if your attack plan is just to like literally get a toothpick and start poking at the enemy, as long as your defense is okay, you're going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you feel strong enough in your defense, you can literally go at the opponent with a toothpick.
But if you have no defense, don't do it.
Go you Sooners.
I had the Sooners.
We barely won the game. Yeah, I totally agree.
Fascinating.
It is. And so, like, even with like you said, you know, you have sage, you have crystals. Is that only because you believe they work, or is there actually something magical about that?
So I would say both. I would say they have energy. Okay, everything has energy, but it's all about intention.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like you need to burn some sage, and you feel like you need to have your crystals in certain spots around you, or wearing one because you know that the energy that it carries will protect you, you have a connection with it, I say yes.
Then do it.
Do it.
I agree.
Because yes, but if you're like, you know what, I don't really know, you know, I'm just gonna do it because it's a ritual. Then it's meaningless.
Yeah, it's like wearing your lucky underwear. You know what I mean? To you know, a sports match, you know, or to
True,
go.
For sure.
You know, there's if you believe that because you're wearing your special underwear, you're gonna win, you're gonna win.
Right.
You're superhero.
You know, even though there may or may not be any power in it, there's the power up here that creates to happen.
And we like to sage, and we like to use Palo Santo, and we like to use our Tibetan singing bowls to, bring alignment into our energies. And we like to do all those things. Do I think they're absolutely necessary? No, but I think they're aids.
But that's your experience.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's what you guys do.
Yep.
Like if me and my wife got into something like this, like our traditions that we come up with could be something vastly different depending on,
as long as you put faith into
as long as we have reason and purpose. I think purpose is
definitely.
Yeah, if you guys have a protection handshake where you're like bam, 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 blow it up, and that protects.
I would do something like this. Would be in it. I would do something like that. Handshake. Yeah, like that. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
And boom.
But I get it. I get what you're saying. It makes sense to me, though.
Hey, it's just like, on the football teams when it says greatness above or something, they always slap it. You're a winner today. They hit it on the way out.
Energy, man.
Yeah. And that helps them believe that they're going to win. And it is something as simple as that. You don't need to create this huge Spartan armor, around you. All you need to do is believe, hey, if I give my wife a fist bump before we go on this, hey, we're protected. And I believe it enough and she believes it enough.
We're protected.
So it will be.
Right. That's awesome. This is pretty much the way I believe. I think, like I said, it's intention. It's our own creation. It's what we believe in, what we have faith in. So let me ask you this. This is kind of a weird question, but if, let's say one of my viewers did have a problem with a haunting, let's say they had some type of negative energy, if they just ignored it and gave it no more energy, would it leave? Or are they more powerful?
That depends on the entity or the spirit that's there. So we have had a problem in the past, and we knew it was there, and we were told to ignore it. They said it's a pest. The more attention you give it, the more you're accountable to get rid of it. However,
there's some really annoying things out there. Pardon my French to whoever is watching. Hopefully this doesn't offend anybody. Sometimes you got to tell it to fuck off.
This is true.
You got to stand your ground.
We've done that.
You got to stand your ground and you be like, you know what? Like, I'm over it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Can you please fuck off?
There was something that had come on the board, and I think it was the one that I told you was really not happy, calling me some names, and I got angry, and being angry is okay. Everybody gets angry. Spirits get angry. God, whatever you believe, God gets angry. Okay, it's an emotion. So I literally, we're in our spiritual shed right now. We don't have our board and our stuff in the house, but I went outside and I said, get off my property. I know who I am. Who are you? Who are you to be on my property? You have no place here. And because I know who I am and I am firm, my feet are on the ground.
I'd be scared.
I know it left because it was not invited. And he went outside and he was cussing up a storm too. And he's protecting me. He's protecting the kids. Get the off our property.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to your faith, like I've been saying, and your intention. If you know you are stronger than what you are up against, you go for it and you tell it to leave, and it will. Awesome. Because we have been told without the invitation, it cannot stay, but you have to have faith.
Right. But some things do come back, and I think that's probably the problem of the person.
Yes.
With unintentionally inviting it back, perhaps.
Well, right. There's an attachment, but there can also be a cohabitation between the two. There comes a point where, depending on the spirit, so like if you move into a house, down to like some scary movie kind of stuff, you move into a house that has some spirits in it,
scary movie kind of stuff,
then they've been there before you. Who are you to be in their domain?
Environment,
Essentially,
right?
you know, in one way or another, you know, you have the physical power, but they were there first. And so there becomes this kind of cohabitation to where, you know, if you can live as a cohabitant, then
Leave it alone.
leave it alone. You
If
know,
it's not
like,
bugging you, if it's not bothering you,
you know, give it a name. You know, if you're like asleep at night and you like kind of wake up, you look at the bug,
Frankie.
you're like a little crazy creature. You'd be like, "Oh, what's up, Roger?" And then you fall back asleep.
Yeah.
What's up, Troy?
Hey, take the trash out.
Yeah.
Easier said than done. You know, I mean, sometimes that doesn't work out that way, and you're like, "Oh God," you know.
But then-
Right.
But-
then at that point, you know, you go get help. Go
Yeah.
find somebody that can help you.
Like you did.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's what I did. And I think a lot of mine was just because of the fear.
In hindsight.
Yeah, in hindsight, yeah. Now I think I could handle it, but I don't invite negative energy in the house anymore.
but
Accidentally.
and there's a thing too, you know, when you're a parent, you know, there's that whole, you know, it's basic instinct goes back to caveman. You know, there's fight or flight.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do? Do I stand up and do I roar louder? Or do I grab my kids and take off? You know what I mean? Like there's the
No.
fight or flight instinct,
Right.
and deciding between the two is tough.
People have
Produces
different-
two separate outcomes, huh?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Well, do you got any more questions, my man?
I will just tell you that this was a very pleasant conversation.
Yeah,
It was really intriguing.
I think
It was really interesting.
yeah, it makes me less scared about Ouija boards because there's so much negative connotation. On
Well,
it.
no, it makes sense to me now.
Oh, I forgot this. What do you do? What do you do after you say goodbye to the spirit for personal protection after a session, or do you?
So me personally, I love to, I'm a water person. Afterwards, I either take a bath or I get in the shower. Kind of like a detox.
Like
Yeah.
watch,
Reset.
yeah,
Yeah.
watch the mojo off.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's
When
cool.
there comes this point, you know, where you close the circle, you close the board, and you take a deep breath, you know, and it's just like kind of swallowing your food. You know, you
Right,
have that
right.
ability. You have to swallow the food that was given to you, whether or not it's
Digest it.
you know, whether or not it's fast food that some crappy ass, you know, thing came on. Sorry, you know, like some crappy thing came on the board and it's gonna feed you fast food. But then there's other things that come onto the board and they feed you vegetables.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You are like, oh, okay, what am I feeling right now? You know, and
You process.
You take a deep breath and you process it, and then you cleanse yourself so that it's not sitting in
Right.
your stomach, you know,
Yeah.
or in your mind. You digest it. You know, whatever it may be, you don't be afraid of it. You know that maybe some things aren't good for you or bad for you, and you take it as it is.
Mm.
great.
That was an amazing answer.
Pam, do you have any questions? My lovely wife's over here. She's off camera though.
Hi.
Hi. And I really don't have any questions. I think you've explained everything extremely well.
Yeah.
You know, just trying to keep up with the chat room is kind of my primary role. And most of the questions that have come through on chat this evening, I think have been, you know, pretty open to the idea of,
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know
you know,
how this would
utilizing-
go actually, because I mean we've done shows before and we spoke about Ouija boards, and it, like you said, it has that stigma. And
I'm not even calling it that anymore.
yeah, well, no,
I'm calling it a spirit board.
but people are just
Yep.
still afraid, you know, of that.
But I think the point that you bring up about it being a tool, you know, you've hit the nail right on the head with that, you know,
Absolutely.
and I
Well,
think
it's-
that it really just, you know, you don't have firemen carrying handguns,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
you don't have policemen dragging hoses around, so, you know,
And-
it's kind
Unless they're
of,
going to
you know,
beat you with them.
use your analogy, but really, you know, I think you use the tools that
Are appropriate.
are appropriate and that you are most skilled with.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. You're not going to go using a chainsaw if you're not protected and you don't know what you're doing,
Right.
because it can be dangerous.
Exactly.
Very much so.
Yeah.
So you got, like we talked about earlier, you said you guys do readings. Would you like to plug? Do you have a website people could go to get a reading from you?
Yeah, so you can we're on Facebook and Instagram, and it's Enlighten Your Existence.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. Which you guys can see
Yeah.
right there on the screen.
Yep,
Yep.
Enlighten Your Existence. We can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or we're making a YouTube.
I was actually going to tell you guys that I'm going to reach out to you on Instagram. I run the Instagram.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, definitely, because this conversation is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many levels to it that I think that, there's probably more conversations that need to be had in the future, right?
Definitely.
Because there's things that we've spoken about and that I never would have imagined would have been on our Ouija board episode,
Yeah.
because I didn't know what the hell. Now I'm like, okay, there are so many levels to this thing. So I'm going to reach out to you guys on Instagram, okay? Be looking for that.
Sounds great.
Do.
Yeah, I think the number one lesson.
We'll send you guys the links and everything, and
For sure.
we are fairly new in terms of the the outsourcing of skills and tools and stuff like that. So if you guys are willing to put those in like a hyperlink,
I got it.
then we can send you those things as well, and we'll we'll talk about that.
And I get a free reading, Garrett, by the way.
Lucky.
Oh yeah. You let us know when you're ready.
Yep.
Yeah, I will. That sounds interesting. It dampened my fear.
Yes.
I feel much. The lesson I think we learned today is intention.
Yes.
Simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just simple as it's intention. What you
And
go in
knowledge.
with, right? And knowledge. Yeah.
Yep.
And understanding.
And peace, love, and understanding. How about that?
Dude,
Yes.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
And-
Seriously.
And if you act now, maybe Troy will show up at that reading.
No, we appreciate you guys, and thank you for having us on and for giving us an outlet to be able to explain our experience.
Yeah.
This is why
It might be different for everybody, and we hope that we can help. And
We're just getting started, Troy.
Yeah, Troy.
We're just getting started.
We're gonna call
Hey,
you Troy from now on.
You guys are gonna hear from me on Instagram.
Okay.
The
Sounds great.
levels of this thing, man. That was exciting. I learned a lot.
That's why
I learned a lot.
that's why I
That was
started this
great.
channel, is to maybe if we can ease fears of people, not only with Ouija boards, but just in religion and spirituality in general.
And thinking.
The heaven
Right.
and hell thing and the guilt and all that. If we can just help someone out, and like I talked to you before, George Carlin said, I used to be religious till I learned to think for myself.
Yep.
And I love that. I love that. All right,
Yeah,
you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
We'd love to have you back on if you'd like to come back sometime.
Sounds great.
We would love to. We look forward
Awesome.
to it.
All right, maybe we'll have you do a Ouija board reading live.
Ooh.
That sounds like a good plan.
That would be cool. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good night.
Good night.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, good
All
night.
Good night, guys.
Well, how
What
about
the
that?
hell?
Yeah, it should. I mean, I wonder.
What the hell just happened for the last hour and a half?
I wonder if anybody had, or how do you guys, the people that are left, and I hope we got a big announcement tonight. So I hope all of you stayed. But anyway, what do you guys think about this? Do you agree with I about said Troy, with
Awesome.
Christy and Austin? Yeah. I mean, do you feel better about a Ouija board? Would you use one now?
Is it me?
Wait,
Wait, hang on.
what?
Or, hang on.
What?
Is it me? Or, in every episode we do, and I think this is a good thing, but I'm starting to see this trend about spirituality.
Well, that's what the show's about.
I know, but the energy thing, it's just fascinating to me because it's not something I ever thought about really until we did the show.
Yeah.
The energy, the levels, the yin and the yang. Like he explained it, the cohabitation.
Mm-hmm.
I never thought of that. Sometimes you just we are cohabitating with this, aren't we?
Yeah, I think sometimes even with the spirit world and ghosts, I mean, sometimes you're just going to have to cohabit because they may not want to leave.
Well, and
I
it's
think as
inevitable.
long as they're, like they said, as long as they're harmless and they're not bothering you, then it's not that big a deal.
Things like being in tune with yourself, being protected.
But I wish I could kind of reach into this plane and help out with the garbage and clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, come on.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Do the laundry for Pam.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
I
so
don't even have to do my laundry if they just do yours.
Yeah. True.
shh, hush. People are gonna go. You do his laundry. Okay, so should we share with everybody our special guests for next week?
And then I'm gonna cut it up and I'm gonna put it on social media.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys remember several months ago, we did 2 shows on a time traveler that was on Coast to Coast of Art Bell named Single 7.
And we may have mentioned Single 7 18 to 400 times on this.
Yeah. We used to end every show with, if you're out there Single 7, get a hold of us. Contact
Please.
us. Well, we found Single 7.
We manifested that.
We manifested it. It happened. We found him. We've been in contact with him. And Single 7.
I swear on everything.
Single 7 is going to be on our show.
Yes.
Next week. You will not want to miss this. Was he?
We found Single 7, guys.
Yeah.
Or no. Single 7 found us.
Single 7 found. Yeah. Yeah. Well.
No.
I had to reach out.
Hey, whoa, we can't give it away.
Yeah. And we're not.
Yeah.
We're going to let him tell his story of that night in 1998 when he talked to Art Bell, and you will not want to miss this. It's going to be awesome.
My hero.
Yeah, Garrett's hero. And set your goals higher.
Yeah.
As he told you. Anyway, all right, guys. So Single 7 next week.
We are not lying, Pat.
Yeah, we're not.
I swear on everything, dude.
We found Single 7.
And here's the thing.
I've talked to Single 7 on the phone for about 90 minutes.
I finally got my chance before tonight's show.
Yeah.
I literally finally got my chance.
Yeah, we called Single 7 right before the show so Garrett could, because Garrett was giddy as a little schoolgirl.
Yeah.
And sure enough, we talked to him. It's his voice.
It's him.
It is him.
It is him.
So Patrick, yes, Single 7 will be on next week, guys. And we're going to find out.
I agree with that emoji.
What's that?
An eggplant.
You put a what?
An eggplant.
An eggplant?
Okay.
We'll explain that after the show, dear.
Okay. Anywho.
Oh, great
Urban
show tonight.
Dictionary.
Yep.
Okay.
Great show tonight, man.
Very
That was
awesome show.
dude. Thank you, Austin and Christy
Yes.
from California.
Yes, very much so.
Hey, I was going to say, by the way, they're out in the desert of California. This has also been something we've spoken about over the last 3 or 4 episodes, that this energy buildup out there. So maybe their Ouija boards work a little bit better than ours.
Maybe. Who knows?
Who knows?
Okay, and when I do get my reading, I'll tell you guys about it and how it went. And I think it would be cool if we brought them back for a live reading.
Absolutely.
For maybe one of the viewers.
Hey, what if in the reading it was like it started spelling something out? It was like Garrett's in the closet. And you walk over and I'm like, damn it! I was trying to sit in on the reading. Let me know how it goes. Is it gonna? I guess it'll have to be over FaceTime or something, right? Use a FaceTime and then.
I don't know why we couldn't just bring him on the camera.
Oh, I'm saying yours initially though.
Oh yeah. Mine will be FaceTime with them, and then I'll.
I mean, is it okay if I sit in, or is that like an individual thing?
I don't know. I'll ask them.
Will you ask them, please?
Because your energy, your spirit guides might start coming through.
My spirit guides are probably crazy.
Well, then I'll think I'm crazy. That's the case.
Yeah, true. Okay, it might be more safe just do it by yourself first time.
Right. Yeah, I'll do it the first time, and then we'll have them back, and we'll do
absolutely.
Pick one of you guys do a live reading.
I love you guys.
We've had these. You guys remember the military medium?
Dean McMurray.
I've got.
Dude, he is so awesome.
We still have 2 free readings, and I will give one away next week during the Single 7 one, and I'll probably give the other one out the following show after Single 7 show.
Which is another surprise show.
Which is another surprise show as well. Planned. So anyway, all right, we got to get out of here.
We love you guys.
We love you guys. Thank you so much, Susie Heath. Thank you again for the super chat. That was awesome. That was a lot of money. You guys could take a little lesson from her. No.
You assholes.
I'm just teasing. All right. Good night, guys.
Love you.
Good night.